I awakened in a tiny cell. I'm cold. And I let the back of my legs slide from the top bunk onto the cement. I can then reach my right arm out to feel the side of this concrete box as I make my way back to an ice cold stainless steel toilet. Butt bucket. That's what I like to call them. It's also precisely what they look like. I must be thinking like a businessman this morning, because I'm wondering, how rich is the guy who holds the contract for these toilets? That is a lot of stainless steel. Bubba, my cellmate, rolls onto his right shoulder to face the other concrete wall. Thank you, Bubba. Give me a moment of privacy. It might be my imagination, but I could have swore he had just a little hint of a smile. I knew I had one, because today I'm going home. I use the term very loosely. I just knew I would be released. The last 2.5 years had been a nightmare. I don't know what was more limiting, the bars in these cells or the prison in my mind, because I was tortured by my failing as a father, a son, husband, anything even vaguely positive. Hey, you've got to strive for useful before you can ever imagine successful. And then there were the voices, family, friends. It's a damn shame, girl. That boy had so much potential. My addiction had taken me into places I never thought I would be. And even now, in the stillness of deep reflections, I find it hard to believe that that was ever me. I wonder, what were they looking at when they said these things? Perhaps they could see a different version of me that this distracted maze of my addictions had not allowed me to see. I was arrested several times. Not only am I very grateful that the 3 strikes law had not been put into place, but as a hybrid crackhead / hustler, extending the legacy of my father, I realized that circumstance and conditions can create a false identity. When I grew up, I didn't know any fancy words like, compulsive obsessive behavior. I just knew what I liked and I knew who I liked. But as things began to grow and change, there were complex choices from this limited landscape that I had inherited that created a mindset that often felt insane. It was closing in on 2 a.m. in the hood. It's sort of like a happy hour for a dope fiend, only without the happy. And I'm armed with only $5, and I'm realized I better get to that liquor store before it closes. And as I'm walking down the last, very dimly lit block of McAllister Street, I can see a large man. He's looming in the shadows, and as I got a little closer, I recognized it. It was Big James. James steps out of the shadows. Hey, Al, can you help me out, partner? James is about 6'1", caramel-colored skin, Adonis-like features, but a childlike demeanor. I reply, I'm so sorry, partner. It's just beyond tight tonight. I then go into the store, where I buy myself a very small package of Oscar Mayer bologna, a loaf of Wonder Wheat bread, and a little Martinelli's apple juice, $3.63. And as I exit the store, I place my last remaining $1.37 into Big James's powerful hand. His face lit with the most surprised, a priceless glow as in one motion he nods while he scurries in before closing. I walked home then, in the midst of my spiraling free fall, with just enough sustenance for my body and a little resuscitation for my soul. "10 days later, I'm sitting on a green park bench in the heart of Alamo Square, where the eyes of those painted ladies, the gorgeous, hand-painted, pristine Victorian homes, witnessed me in the excruciating pain, hating myself, perhaps believing somehow that this magical ambience could transport even me into a life worth living. I placed my hand on my forehead to shield that blinding sun from my teary eyes. As a silhouette approached, it slowed. He tilts his head. His jaw drops. It's Big James. L? L, is that you, man? Attempting to strike a composed demeanor while I wiped away my tears. Yeah, it's me, man. I'm cool. I'm cool in the gang, baby. James let me off the hook with, hey, you take care of yourself, okay, partner? Prior to this, I would liken my entire life to the experience of bumper cars, enclosed into a ring of limitation, but slamming into everything on my path without even trying. 3 days later, I'm now hanging out at the Eddy Street Projects, desperately searching for any way I could turn the no thing into something with this equally desperate group of guys, some of whom I didn't even know. Oh, you know, you in trouble when this is where you go to put on your thinking cap. All of a sudden, the cops jam us, guns drawn, face down on the ground, everybody face down. And then they piled us all into the back of a paddy wagon, but nobody knew why. Oh, I love those scenes. You ever also remain silent? Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law? But where I came from, we called that fiction. Added to the fact, I had the comic bad luck to be handcuffed to the angriest, most belligerent, loudest young man in the group. He wouldn't stop talking. What did I do? I don't even know him. Ain't nobody read my rights. But granted, there wasn't a single word that came out of his mouth that would have been deemed inappropriate or unreasonable given these circumstances, which only made it worse. So I gave him the look. Shut the fuck up, fool. Oblivious and unrelenting, he continued that tirade all the way down to that police station. And then the wagon stopped. And them back doors creaked open. And when the dusk sun hit our squinting faces, we were all directed to stand. I'm realizing I'm gonna have to take the lead to navigate me and my new friend down those 3 little rickety metal steps from the back of that paddy wagon onto the blacktop, then perform a coordinated handcuff pirouette to the left up a steep set of stairs while I'm praying my calm reserve is contagious. It wasn't. He kept talking. I didn't do nothing. I said I don't know him. I was just walking. Once inside the police station, there was a very thick, palpable, nervous quiet. You know, like when something's fitting to go down. Every officer's motions suddenly became very slow and calculated. But the adrenaline was high. I was already beginning to grieve I knew what was about to happen. Did he not know that it is a crime to demand basic human rights? Maybe he's from another part of town. Perhaps my boy just been watching too much TV. What if the cold reality is that I should have been asking myself how come his response was so foreign to me? Because now he's whining. I didn't do that, not knowing. These things were deemed blasphemous and arrogant. Truly, what this young man was most guilty of was being so innocent that he didn't understand how things really work. So they decided to teach him. In their minds, he had opened his mouth way too many times. And they were now armed with all the self-righteousness that they needed to camouflage the fear, to fuel the rage. So they beat him, and 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 they beat him. And when they were done, his entire body would have lie prone on that ground if not for his limp left arm still tethered to mine. When it released, it plopped to the ground like a piece of meat. And then they recuffed me to the bench on the side of the room, where I stoically sat without ever averting my eyes. A few minutes later, an officer arrives, and he sits too close to me. Yeah, there sure was too bad about your friend falling down that set of stairs. Externally, I was expressionless. Internally, I was seething. It was the mask I had learned to wear to keep myself breathing. Not coincidentally, they swiftly had me transferred out over to 850 Bryant, the large downtown city jail with lots of cots to sleep on. Upon entry, I walked right past a huge congregation of loud talkers, most of whom I knew. Found myself a cot way back in the corner of the room, all talking about it. Never even crossed my mind. Exhausted, I was able to even fall asleep, only to be shaken awake by some guy I didn't even know requesting a match. A match! I sprang to my feet with all of the internalized rage from that beating. Motherfucker! You woke me up for a match? Have you lost your mind? Do you not realize when a man is sleeping in here, it is the only time he's free? I took a deep breath. And as I returned to my fetal curl, to the background giggles, I bet you won't wake that nigga up again. After a brief hearing and a stern warning from a judge that had seen me before, I've seen you before. If I see you again, you're going straight to the pen. 60-day return to county jail. I'm now on a bus ride out there when I'm looking around and I realize that I don't know anybody, which was unusual. So then I overhear I'm being taken to the 7th floor, which housed violent and repeat offenders, a label I did not feel I deserved, albeit I decided I would forego pointing out the clerical error. I'm in a long line of handcuffed pairs of inmates going down this huge, massive corridor of cells in this line with concrete benches and tables on either side. And I could hear some faint mumbling. Turned into grumbling. Then there was pulling and pushing and shoving and then swinging all out melee. Everybody just swinging wildly at each other. And then the even more terrified guards coming flailing recklessly at everybody when I discover I got a superpower getting out the way of shit. All of a sudden, there was a huge clap of a billy club against a concrete table in this massive guard with his eyes glazed, his nostrils flared, beelines directly up to me. Turns to everybody and says, he started it. 2 weeks in lockdown. Full disclosure. I did not start that shit. But neither did I mind. No yard privileges or eating with everybody else. I didn't mind being alone. I'm about a week into my lockdown. My butt is on a rock-hard concrete floor. My back is against a roughly finished beige-colored concrete wall when it occurs to me, hey, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting on a park bench contemplating suicide. Things are looking up. So, as I relaxed back against that wall, and I mean, it would always grace me with this mesmerizing rectangle from the morning sun under the floor of my cell, when I heard, psst. Well, I looked up, I couldn't believe my eyes. There, with his face mushed against the bars of my cell, the biggest Cheshire grin I have ever seen, and mirroring the disbelief in both of eyes, Big James! Yeah, I saw when it brought you in, man, that was fucked up. Hey, man, look here, partner. I brought you something. James slides his hand between the bars, and he hands me a half-open package of spirit tobacco, a couple of zigzags, and a couple pieces of gum. I believe that the quizzical look on my face made him say, "Do you smoke?" And I said, "No, partner, but trust me, I am so bored. I'm getting ready to find out if I'm missing out on anything." And then he says, "Al, man, you was always good to me. If you need anything, I got your back." A gift that somehow felt so much bigger than even this handful of jailhouse gold. I think I had given up on ever having what we call a common life. But there was something about my week alone of going within. And it opened my mind to a possibility of maybe even stepping outside of that previously mentioned ring of limitation without knowing what would be out there for me. So as he's walking away, I said, "Hey, Jay, hey, man, when I get out this time, I ain't never coming back." I finished them couple months, and on a cold winter night, that raggedy jail bus dropped me back off at 850 Bryant. Broke, tired, hungry. I racked my brain. Where would I go? What would I do? Everybody that I knew had long since given up on me, but maybe Mama. That's what I called my grandma. But I've been way too ashamed to let her see me for quite some time. And yet, I started the trek. I walked up 7th Street, and I walked over Market. I walked through the entire Tenderloin district, over Van Ness, from bottom to the top, over that hill, of the Fillmore district all the way to the back of our house, and she had this old plastic doorbell, and it was always sticking pretty hard when the light came on. And I mean, I could feel the shake of them thick brown feet pounding against the linoleum floor when she opened the door. Boy, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Do you know what time it is? And then everything softened with an unsaid, 100 times more powerful, I got my boy back. Get your ass in here. Come. Then you go on up there and get you some rest. But we're going to talk in the morning. The next morning, I awakened to the smell of a sizzling hamburger patty, some grits, some eggs and toast. And as I sat across from her in the kitchen where I had the best meals of my life, with that 60s pattern linoleum floor and them yellow painted walls holding the space, she says, now, Nikki, I need you to be a man. You're strong. You're smart. Boy, the only thing stopping you is you. This is a woman who was born in 1914 without any formal education, who had survived the Depression and Jim Crow. And then she migrated from Sunshine, Louisiana with 2 little girls and owned her own home as a single black woman in 1947. I never heard her talk about her dreams. I just watched her create miracles. You know, when I asked your grandfather to help me buy this house, you know what he said? I ain't putting my John Henry on nothing. I guess that explained why he lived in the little basement apartment a few blocks away. So the very next day, I knew what I had to do. And I mean, it was purely armed on the strength of her love that I even allowed myself to. I had only heard of a place that people call NA, but my journey began on that very next day. Welcome to the program, my brother. Hey. My name is DK. DT is Hella Harold. As soon as this boy opened his mouth in a meeting, you will understand his nickname. Hey, is this your first meeting? Is it that obvious? No doubt. It's probably the, I know this can't be the place. Look in your eyes. Hey, you like coffee? Hey, tea? Hey, hang with us, partner. I'm gonna grab us a couple seats. DK was right. We all know how badly the deer in the headlights moment can work out for the deer. If he's just being a deer, he just gracefully bounces into the bush. You're like, whoa, honey, that was a close one. But when he starts thinking, that first meeting, oh my God, was it rough on my psyche? Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, not only does not anybody in this room even know who I am, I'm beginning to question it myself. So I'm listening to those 12 steps and then the 12 traditions. Like, whoa, hey, slow the fuck down, y'all. Hey, my only problems occur when I have excessive amounts of crack cocaine. Perhaps we could get me started with a little NA light. After that meeting, DK, grab. I know what you're thinking. Yeah. You're thinking that having a Budweiser with the boys after work, you know, that sounds innocent enough. Or maybe you're thinking, how you gonna feel when you kick back with your homeboys, you know, smash that flip while you kick back watching the game. Or I'm gonna bet for you the stiffest tits yet gonna come in the form of a little brown-eyed hottie saying, oh, but I thought we were gonna drink this together. And you was already hoping she was thinking what you was thinking. I wish I could tell you that DK's pep talk and advice had prevented me from trying all of the above, but it wouldn't. I was a very intellectual deer. That car backed up and ran over my ass a few times. And every time I returned to meetings, battered and crushed, and DK would show me even more love than he did the first day. Hey, partner. Look, Mike, I know it's hard. It's embarrassing. Please, just do one thing for me, okay? Promise me that you will always tell the truth. See, ultimately, that's the thing that's gonna serve your peace of mind and your recovery. Bro, there ain't never been a lie that was not told in fear. Yeah, every once in a while, an eloquent gem like that would drop out of his mouth. That wasn't even what made me trust him so much. It was his authenticity. I'm talking about pure simplicity. How could he care so much about me with nothing to gain? He opened the door for me to see beyond the addictive mindset that my youth had ingrained. I had lived only in the world that was in it for me. This was a whole new experience, being around people whose motives I could not see. After several months in that program, struggling, relapsing, denying the depth of my problem, I finally stacked 90 days clean. This is the longest I had been clean since I was 14 years old. I'm so excited. I'm racing to the meeting. I gotta tell DK, I wanna let everybody know. Oh man, I got to the meeting, I was late, and the meeting was packed. All the heavyweights were there. And DK raises his hand. Hi, my name is DK, and I'm an addict. And I have a confession to make. I had a relapse. I slipped. No, fuck, no. The guy that had held all my emotional baggage, held my head above water for a whole year. Now he needed a hand. Then Paul shared, hey, DK. Hi, my name is Paul, and I'm an addict. Hey, DK, I'm so proud of you, my brother. You made it right back. We all know how easy it is to have a sleep, and that the very thing that can get us to go out there, yeah, my brother, it can keep us out there. One day at a time. It is not just some snazzy motto, my brothers. It is the way. And it is all we ever have. Welcome back, DK. What I thought was going to be my big celebration day, it turned out to be my transformation day. All I wanted to be was everything DK had been for me. And as I stacked a few more days, I became obsessed with that 11th step. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. And I don't profess to know anything about the who, the what, or the why. But I can honestly say that every single day, I get a little bit closer in my willingness to try. Because at least now, this mind of mine can identify that silent assassin. It was my addictive mind. The same one that took me to that dope house and made me go blind. Later, became my personal ninja, slaying them demons that only I could see. Got me to start working out, taking care of myself, declaring this is how we'll move that chi. Now, very happy to drive me to the card club and cash my check when the rent ain't paid. While my wife's best friend's declaring, girl, do you really believe he's working late again? Bet he out somewhere getting laid. He can also be of service, just like man's best friend. Humble, patient, loyal, when he's directed from within. Oh, yeah. It can be quite the destructive thing, but when I am anchored in my passions, in my purpose, when my heart is well aligned, it just seems to quiet all of them old investments I once had in my ego's once destructive and self-conflicted mind. Now you might think, I'm not tempted for these distractions. I mean, not the destructive kind. I've got my trusty cell phone to occupy my mind. And with all of these distractions, we're talking about a line that can be so fine because it's always a personal experience with how one disciplines the mind. So I'm always asking myself one question, because it certainly appears no matter what I do, and that question is, am I using it or is it using you? As for this addictive mind, what I call our now silent assassin, I mean, I believe we're all experiencing a dis-ease so pervasive and camouflaged by virtue of the way it is skillfully woven into the culture. Thus, our collective consciousness, perhaps our critical decision making. One thing that became quite evident to me, whenever anybody is operating from this addictive mind, it becomes a universal way to be. It is no longer just drugs or alcohol that attracts this addictive mind. No, we're bombarded with a plethora of draining addictive choices. Hey, man, look here. Loan me $50 to pay. I just got to place a bet on the phone, my phone for the game. Isn't there anything on Amazon I can find? Girl, you need to get dressed. Where we going? The sale, girl. I don't need anything. How could you possibly know that before we get to the store? All of these little sample sizes of the collective dis-ease of more becoming the foundation for a nation. Oh, speaking of getting more, maybe you do have enough or just a little bit more. We got a few sexy ways to help you give it all away. Welcome to Happy Hour Casino. Come drink, come smoke, come play. Hey, forget about tomorrow. You can become a star today. Now, maybe you're lucky enough to lift your mind above all of this frivolous fray, only to find that between the prescription drugs and the side effects, we got your ass anyway. The sleight of hand, distracting every man, and I'm talking about you and me. Because when we got all that attention on the things we want, it dilutes that truth of who we already be. I want to fast forward 20 years later. After that fateful day with DK, I have now just taken a long flight from SFO to Seoul, Korea. My life has taken on a new trajectory. I now teach yoga and meditation, and I'm celebrating 20 years clean. Thank you, but that was 15 years ago. And as I arrive, I'm exhausted from 17 hours of traveling. And as I just make my way into the hotel room, I collapse across the bed, completely exhausted. And when I awaken, The only light in this room is shadowy street lights from uncovered big glass windows from down below. I stand up and I cannot help but notice that the floor is warm. I don't even turn on the light as I make my way back to the bathroom where I sit down on a warm, cushioned toilet seat that shoots warm water up your bum. And as I reflect on where this new trajectory this addictive mind has taken me, I cannot help but think, I wonder what Bubba's doing.